My grandfather was a stubborn man. At 78, he still mowed his lawn by hand, patched his own roof, and kept his old war medals tucked away in a shoebox he never bragged about. To him, respect was earned, not demanded. That was why the HOA never got along with him. They hated how he ignored their nitpicky letters, their endless fines, their self-important rules about matching shutters, and community-approved hedge heights. He hated how they strutted around like they owned every front yard on the block. Grandpa used to tell me, "Son, these people act tough because no one stands up to them. But when you've seen real war, you can smell the bluff on a man." I thought he was just venting, a grumpy old vet tired of paperwork and meetings. I didn't realize how right he was until that night. It was just after dusk when they came. I had stopped by to bring him some soup and check on his bad knee. We were sitting on the porch, rocking chairs creaking, the summer air thick with the sound of cicadas. Grandpa was mid-story about his first fishing trip with my dad when the crunch of tires broke the rhythm. A pair of SUVs rolled up the street, stopping right in front of his house. Out stepped 6 men. At first glance, they looked official. Black boots, matching khaki pants, dark shirts with shiny patches stitched on the shoulders. They carried radios clipped to their belts, batons swinging against their legs. But something about them felt off. Their badges caught the porch light, but they were the cheap kind you could order online, and the way they carried themselves wasn't police at all. Too sloppy, too eager. Grandpa leaned forward in his chair, squinting. "Those aren't cops," he muttered under his breath. The tallest of the group swaggered ahead, clipboard in hand. "Evening," he called, his voice loud and practiced. "We're here on behalf of the HOA. You've been issued multiple violation notices, uncut hedges, peeling paint, and non-standard fencing. We're authorized to enforce compliance." I felt my stomach twist. HOA violations didn't come with armed enforcers. They came with letters. Maybe a fine. Certainly not a half-dozen men showing up at night like they were serving a warrant. Grandpa's cane tapped against the porch rail once, slow and deliberate. "You boys must be lost," he said, his tone calm but cold. "If you've got a problem, you take it up with the board. You don't come onto my property making threats," the leader smirked. "This isn't a threat. It's an order." He flicked his clipboard as though it were some kind of badge. "Refuse to comply, and we'll remove you by force." 2 of the men stepped forward, heavy boots crunching against the gravel driveway. One had a smirk plastered across his face. The other cracked his knuckles like he was itching for a fight. My heart kicked into overdrive. These weren't bored volunteers handing out notices. These guys wanted trouble. I looked at Grandpa, expecting fear, maybe even a flicker of hesitation. But he just sat there, his jaw tightening, his eyes narrowing like he was measuring every move. He'd been a sergeant in Korea. I'd seen him stare down a rattlesnake with the same kind of patience. "Son," he said to me softly without breaking his gaze from the men, "go inside." "I'm not leaving you," I whispered back. His hand, weathered and strong despite the years, gripped mine for a moment. "Then stand behind me and keep your mouth shut." The leader waved his hand. "Grab him." One of the fake cops lunged up the steps, his hand reaching for Grandpa's arm. Grandpa shifted just slightly, enough that the cane he always carried clattered against the porch rail. To the untrained eye, it looked like an old man bracing himself. To me, it looked like something else, like a trigger being pulled in his mind. "Careful," Grandpa said, his voice low and even. "You don't know the house you've walked into." The man sneered. "You're just an old man with a bad leg." He didn't get the chance to finish. The other 5 crowded closer, forming a half circle at the base of the porch. Their radios buzzed nonsense, their eyes glinting with the thrill of intimidation. And yet none of them noticed the way Grandpa's hand shifted toward the rail. None of them realized that the cane they'd mocked so many times wasn't just a cane at all. I could feel the tension like static in the air, every second stretching longer, every breath louder. I wanted to shout, to call someone, to do anything. But something in Grandpa's calmness kept me rooted. He wasn't afraid. He was waiting. The leader leaned forward, his clipboard raised like a weapon. "Last chance, old man. Comply, or we drag you out." Grandpa chuckled, a dry, humorless sound that sent chills down my spine. "Boys," he said, his words cutting through the cicadas and the night air like a blade, "You came to the wrong house." The man holding his arm tightened his grip. That was the moment everything changed. Grandpa's posture shifted, his shoulders squared, and the porch light glinted off something metallic as his cane tapped once more against the wood. I didn't understand until much later just how carefully Grandpa had planned for this kind of moment. He'd always told me, "I keep one thing close in case the world forgets its manners." I thought he meant his sharp tongue or his stubborn pride. But what he meant, what he had always meant, was hidden inside that cane. The grip on Grandpa's arm tightened, the fake officer twisting as if to yank him up from the rocking chair. I felt the heat rush to my face. My fists clenched, and every instinct screamed at me to intervene. But before I could move, Grandpa acted. With a flick that seemed too quick for a man his age, he twisted his cane. A sharp metallic click echoed in the night. The cane wasn't just wood. It split apart at the handle, revealing the dull gleam of polished steel beneath. In one smooth motion, Grandpa pulled free the heart of his secret, an old Colt revolver, its chrome finish catching the glow of the porch light. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. 6 chambers, heavy, steady, a relic of another era. I'd only ever seen it once before, when Grandpa had shown it to me as a teenager. He told me then, "This Colt doesn't need to roar to speak. Just showing it reminds fools that respect still matters." I thought it was an old man's metaphor. Tonight, it was prophecy. The hand gripping his arm froze. The smirk slid off the man's face like melted wax. The rest of them, all 6, went still. The sound of cicadas suddenly drowned by their nervous shuffling. Grandpa's hand didn't shake. His finger rested outside the trigger guard, calm, deliberate. He wasn't some jittery old man waving a gun. He was a soldier again, the kind who knew exactly what he was doing. "You boys play dress up real well," Grandpa said, his voice steady, almost casual. "But where I come from, real uniforms are earned, not bought off the internet." The leader swallowed hard, his fake badge catching the porch light. He tried to muster confidence, puffing out his chest. You can't just..." Grandpa cut him off with a sharp chuckle. "Can't just what?" "Defend myself on my own property? You broke my gate? You put hands on me? And now you think you're the law? No, son, you're trespassers. And trespassers learn quick in these parts." The barrel of the Colt tilted just slightly, not aimed, but enough to remind them it could be in a heartbeat. The man holding Grandpa's arm let go so fast you'd think his skin had been burned. He stumbled backward, hands raised, face pale. One of the younger ones, barely more than 20, his jawline still smooth, whispered, "He's serious, man." "That thing's loaded," Grandpa heard him. He smirked. "Loaded since the day I bought it. And don't think for a second I forgot how to use it." The leader's facade cracked. Sweat beaded at his temple, his eyes darting between the revolver and his crew. They weren't ready for this. They'd come expecting an easy target. An old man, maybe his scared grandson, a quick show of power to make the HOA's point. They hadn't expected resistance. They sure as hell hadn't expected a Colt revolver older than their parents. For a moment, silence ruled, the kind that makes every breath loud, every heartbeat thunder. Then Grandpa spoke again, his voice lower, but sharper. "I fought men overseas who wanted me dead. They had rifles, grenades, tanks. And you know what? I came home anyway. You think I'm going to let a bunch of neighborhood bullies with fake badges tell me when to cut my hedges? Son, you've lost your mind." The one with the knuckle-cracking habit shifted uneasily. His bravado was gone now. He muttered something under his breath about leaving. The leader snapped his head toward him, desperate to keep control. We can't just back down. He's bluffing." Grandpa's thumb brushed the hammer of the Colt, not cocking it, just letting the motion speak louder than words. "Try me," he said softly. It was the quiet that broke them, the absolute certainty in his voice. The way his hand didn't tremble, his eyes didn't blink. He wasn't bluffing. He didn't need to fire. The truth of it radiated from him like heat. The first one backed away, hands raised, then another. The young one practically stumbled in his rush to retreat down the steps. Soon only the leader remained at the foot of the porch, his clipboard dangling uselessly at his side. His face was red, his breathing shallow. He looked like a man trying to decide if pride was worth dying for. Grandpa leaned forward just slightly in his chair. You got two choices: walk away and never come back, or find out if I still shoot as straight as I did in 52. Your call. The leader's jaw worked, but no words came. Finally, he spat at the dirt, turned on his heel, and stormed toward the SUVs. The others followed, some casting nervous glances back, others keeping their eyes fixed firmly ahead.